an ad or something like this. My name is Ruben. Okay, and I've been in this industry full time for the past 20 some years. I did my first sale online 25 years ago. And since then, I had the opportunity to build an agency. And how did that happen? Because I started selling online. And then I discovered that you could pay the platforms in order to be able to have them promote whatever I was doing to other people. We call that traffic. We call that advertising. And I got good at it. And then other people started asking me, can you do that for me too? And then I started creating some products. And then I got invited to different parts of the world to talk about how to take your knowledge online, how to make sure that people get to see you, whether either with paid ads or by positioning. So I've been very, very privileged that I've been asked to speak at different stages, and that I've had the opportunity to go all over the world to speak at these different events, at these different stadiums, and to share with people, and to have my masterminds and share with some key industry leaders in the world, actually, and be there. I've also written several books, and my last book is The Five Levels of Entrepreneurial Growth, and that's this one right here. And that came from being able to share with, yeah, let me stop my share here. And that came from me working with over 1,900 uh, paying clients over the past 15 years. And that is where this book came from. Today, we're going to talk about level 1 and 2. Okay. And as we progress tomorrow, we'll talk about level 3 and 4. And then on day number 5, we're going to talk about level 5. Because this is where most people believe they're operating in level 5. Most people are going to call that out. But in reality, they're only working at level 1 and 2. All right. So let's break that down. Oh, okay. So what's level 1? All right. Two. Yellow. Level 1. All right. So level 1 is the professional. All right. That's the professional. What does the professional do? Okay. And is that my camera making everything small? Let me get. Huh, that's interesting. Perfect. So there you go. That is Zoom doing its auto zoom thing. Okay. All right. So perfect. It's not me. That's Zoom doing it. Perfect. So this is what happens. So okay, let's go back to the professional. Now, who is the professional? The professional is that person that is just launching himself into the market. Are there any professionals here? Let me know in the chat. I'm going to open my chat here. Are there any professionals here that are looking to launch themselves into the market? You're a 9 to 5. You're an executive. Are you one that is working, that you're looking to leave the corporate world to go out there and do your own thing and hang your shingles or do something for yourself? Are there any of you here today? Okay, if there are, yeah, just make sure that you put it in where everybody can see your comments, not just private. All right, perfect. All right, so excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Make sure it goes to the public and not just to the host. Okay, perfect. So this is what happens. Professional. The professional is the one that's probably between 0 and 50,000. That's what he's generating right now. Now, the professional is the one that is still looking at their voice. They're still looking to find their voice. There might be an expert or whatever it is that they're doing in their own business. They may have the title. They may be the chief financial officer. They might be the CEO. They have a title in that company, the CMO, their C-suite, or there's some other type of big executive within an organization. They're recognized because of that title in that organization. What happens when they go outside of that organization? What happens when they're no longer part of that organization? That title and the respect that belongs to that title stays with the company. It doesn't go with them. Okay. I'm going to give you an example. There was an executive that he had a high position. And when he was invited to speak at different events, he flew business class. When he arrived at the locations, there was a chauffeur waiting for him. They would take him to his hotel. His hotel was all checked in, and the suitcase went straight up to his room. The next morning, when he got up to go to the event, there was a chauffeur waiting. He was taken to the event, to the back door. He was able to walk right into the green room, which is where all the speakers get to meet. They have coffee and all the specialties for them. And he was handed a porcelain cup with coffee, just the way he liked it, because they already knew. So all of this happened, and of course he was taken back to the hotel. He flew back home. A year later, he returned to the exact same event. But this time he was no longer the speaker and he was no longer associated with the company, but he went to the event because of the content. This time he flew coach because he flew by himself. When he got to the airport, he had to get an Uber to go to the hotel. In the morning, he got to get another Uber to go back to the hotel, and he had to eat breakfast at the hotel before he got there. And then when he got to the event, he was pushing, with everybody else to try to get in line, get registered, get his bag, get his thing, to go into the event. And then when he went to go get coffee, it was a cardboard cup. You know the difference between both events? What's the title? It wasn't the person. I don't want you to be there. I want the people to recognize you because you're the authority, okay? Not because you have a title, but because you have the authority in the marketplace. All right. So let's go back to the professional. I like to call the professional, the hustler, the deliverer, the hustler, because that's the one person that is probably working, he's probably working 9 to 5. Oh, the 9 to 5. Okay. And then he goes home, and then it's from 6 to 10 that he's taking care of his business. Okay. And then what's happening is that he's taking care of his business. This is Zoom. You know what? I need to do something with the Zoom settings. How do I stop? All right, perfect. I think I took care of it. It had the auto zoom selection on. Okay, so perfect. So 9 to 5. So you take an hour, maybe you take some phone calls on the way home, or maybe you got to get the kids or something like this. Something is happening between 5 to 6. You get off, you get to your work and you go home, and now it is, 6 to 10, and you're making your phone calls and you're talking to people and you're hustling. That's what we call the professional. And the level number one, the hustler, the deliverer. Because maybe Saturday and Sunday you're working as well, but because you have a job during the rest of the week, it's going to eat 40 hours of your time. Right? Plus your trial commute time. So whatever that is, okay? So you figure that out. So maybe it's 50, 60 hours a week, all right, that are being eaten by somebody else because you're working on somebody else's dream and not your own. Okay? So that's that. Now what happens is that now at this level, you're starting to find your market. The market that you want to be recognized in. Okay? Because it's not about just, I'm going to go there. No, it's how do I position myself within that market? Because if you position yourself correctly, you can go into any market. All right. And we're going to find out about that here just a little bit. And then now you got to have your message. We're going to talk about your message on day number 3. Okay, because this is critical that you have the right messages. 3 different messages that you're going to have in the market: your prepositioning statement, your positioning statement, and your strategic positioning statement. All 3 have a very specific place in business, but how do you use them is critical to understand. That way you have the most effectiveness. Okay, so you have that. So that's your message. And then lastly, your value. Something like that. Hey, let me get rid of that one and correct that letter. Okay, so it's going to be your value. All right, the value of what you're offering. Now, is the value the same as price? Wait. Value is what I'm delivering. The price is what somebody else is paying. Okay, are we clear? We're going to deliver value. We're going to deliver so much value that when they hear the price, they're going to say, that's it. Yes, because we can quantify the results. All right. So you got that. All right. So that's level 1. Now, the next level, level 2, is when things start to get interesting. Let's go to level 2 here real quick. Actually, I want to put it here on the side because that way we can have them side by side. All right. So let's make a line. All right. So let's go to level 2. Now, I'm going to say something here, but I want you to understand that level 2 is where things really start to get interesting, because level number 2 is where you become self-employed. Okay? Self-employed. Now you say, but Ruben, what do you mean self-employed? Yes, that's when you start working in the business. Okay? Now, so you're working in the business. Okay? We're not working on the business yet. You're working in it. You're getting paid. Now, you probably are tracking somewhere between 50 to about $150,000. Okay? That's where you're at there. Now, why is this critical? This is one of the critical points as you're growing your business, because this is where you're starting to find out you're fine-tuning the market, you're fine-tuning your message, and you're fine-tuning your value. We found it while we were the professionals, the hustlers delivering. Now we're getting paid from the business. Now maybe we're getting a little bit of a salary. Maybe what we're getting right now is just a little bit to help around the house, right? So we're okay with that. Okay, we're doing that. Now what happens is this. What you need to do now, maybe the 9 to 5 is getting a little blurred. Now you can start saying to yourself, maybe I don't need that 9 to 5. Maybe I can go part-time. Maybe I can become a consultant for the same company. Some companies are going to allow you to do that and some are not. Okay. But now your expertise and your authority is no longer being traded for time. Okay. So now you're no longer trading time for dollars. Okay. Now you're starting to get value on what it is that you're offering, to the public. And there are two things that are going to start happening here. And one of them is that you're going to start to build structure. Okay. Let me write this down because this is very important to understand. Okay. Structure. Go ahead and write the word structure. Write the word structure in the chat. Okay. Write the word structure in the chat. Okay. Right there. Right. Now, freedom comes from structure. Okay. Freedom comes from structure. Let me qualify that. How is it that we can have freedom from structure? It's really simple. At this level 2, remember I said this is where it starts to get interesting. There's two things and that are going to have to happen. Number one is that you are going to create, and let's go to this color right here. One thing that you're going to have to start to create, okay, is that you need to create an SOP. Okay. What's an SOP? All right. So we got it right here. So I'm going to have to create an SOP. That's number one. Number two is the hardest one for most people. Okay. But what is an SOP? An SOP is a set of specific instructions. It's known as standard operating procedures. Okay. Now, what happens is this. And there are AI software tools out there that will do this for you. Okay. And we're going to get heavy into AI here in just a little bit because you cannot avoid it. It's out there. Okay. And we need to utilize it in order for us to make sure that we're going to get ahead. But how we use it is what we're going to talk about that's different. And we're going to start doing this, a little later. Now, let's take a look at this. First thing that we want to do is we want to record ourselves doing something that is something that we do. Maybe we don't want to do it, or something that we do repetitively. Okay. Number two, you're going to understand number two in here just a second. But first of all, and there's AI software out there that allows you to record your screen as you are performing a specific function, and then upload it to the software. And then what the software is going to do is going to break it down into screenshots and your own set of instructions. So what it is that you're doing in that particular screen. Because what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to become freer from the things that you're doing in your business that you can hand off to somebody else. Do you guys get that? An SOP is a set of instructions that you can hand to somebody else. Because if you have that structure in place, if somebody else is doing, okay, let me see it. Let's look at it this way. Let's say that in the mornings, I spend the first 2 hours of the morning answering emails from yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening, and dealing with, orders, that didn't go out, orders somebody bought something, and I want to make sure that they received it, maybe support got an email about something. I mean, if you can get rid of those 2 hours every morning, how much more could you really do on the business, something that's not in the business? Okay. Now you start to become the business owner. Now we're going to go to level 3 and 4 and 5. But right now we need to start in level 2. This is where we start to set that base. Okay. So everything that we do, we record and we create an SOP. Oh, Ruben, I don't have nobody to give it to it right now. No, but you will. If you continue to do the right steps, you will have somebody, you will need somebody to give this to, because you will not have time to do it all. All right. So we do this. Now, that is building structure. Now, do you guys see how structure, having a specific structure, is going to give you freedom? Because if somebody else is doing that for you for 2 hours every day, what else could you be doing? Let me know in the chat. If somebody can take over 2 hours of your morning, what else would you be doing? Let me know in the chat. What else would you be doing? Okay. What? Sleeping, says yeah, me too. Structure. Okay, what else would you be doing? Freedom is what I want, says Nora. Yeah, Nora, make sure that you put it for everybody so everybody can see your comments. Everybody, make sure that you do the public comments so everybody can see them. Growing the business, says Cal. Absolutely. Christine says sleeping or shopping. Oh, wait. Christine says sleeping and shopping. You mean you go shopping when you're sleeping? Okay. So yeah, I dream about what I'm going to eat the next day too. So if you're dreaming about shopping, I'm okay. Okay. I get you. I get you. All right. Perfect. So, all right. The next one is where you're going to understand what I'm talking about, the SOPs. But sometimes this is the hardest thing. This is the hardest thing. Okay. Let me give it to you right here. Okay. I'm going to put this one in red because you guys are going to understand when you see it. Delegate. Delegate. Give to somebody else a task that you were doing. Let me tell you something. After 15 years of working with so many coaches, so many service providers, attorneys, dentists. I had a marketing agency about 15 years ago, and one of my verticals was attorneys, dentists, chiropractors, and we also work with audiologists, and this was one of the hardest things for most people, was to delegate, because they needed to learn to let go. Okay. Type it in the chat. Let go. Type it in the chat for me. Let go. I'm even going to put it in there too. Okay. Let go. Put it in the chat for me. Let go. Charlana says, let go. Even I got an opportunity to work with a CEO. He was building a software company, and we had some contract work and things that needed to be improved in the GUI. That's the dashboard. That's when everybody logs in and they see. And there were some recommendations that were made, from a team. And I brought it over to him and says, "Listen, we need to change some things." And he goes like, "Hey, yes, that's my baby." That was his comment. And I said, well, this study cost $80,000, so, we need to make some changes because we paid for this, this is the recommendations. And he was adamant about not making the changes, even though we spent a lot of money on that, but here was the reason why. Well, we didn't spend the money because it was gifted to it, but that was the value of the study. Okay. And that was done. But this is what happened. He took it personal. It's a business. Yes, we might be the ones starting the business, but we cannot make the business us and personal. If something needs to change for us to grow in the business, we need to learn to let go. That's why I'm saying one of the hardest things to do is to delegate, is to give a piece of your baby to somebody else to take care of it. Okay. If any of you are parents out there, you know that that's a hard thing, especially I have daughters, now they're dating and they're going to get married. And it's kind of like, I need to give my daughter to this guy, because I've been taking care of her my entire life now and expect him to take care of her the same way I would. It's hard. Okay. The same thing happens with the business. The exact same thing happens with the business. Okay. So this is what we got. All right. So this is what we see in both levels, level 1, level 2. Tomorrow we're going to cover level 3 and level 4. So let me put that back up here on the board. I think everybody can see it. I don't think it's actually zooming in anymore. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's staying there. Perfect. All right. So level 1. Let's cover these again. Level 1. Okay. We got there. That's the professional. He's from 0 to 50,000. Okay. The things that he's working on, he's trying to figure out his market, he's trying to figure out his message, and he's trying to figure out his value. Okay. So he's just working there. Right now, the professional, he's the hustler, he's the deliverer. He wants to break out, maybe from a 9 to 5, maybe from something else that he's doing. But he says that, right now is my opportunity. And yes, it is. Okay. And then level 2. And that from level 1, we go up to level 2. And in level 2, now we went from being at 150, 0 to 150, now we're between 50 and $150,000. Now he's no longer trading time for dollars because he has a program that he can charge more. But this is where he's going to start feeling the structure that he has to build. He's also has to work on his SOPs, and he has to learn to delegate some of his tasks. Now you say, who am I going to delegate this task to? Well, inside our program, we're going to talk to you about who is the very first hire that you need to have, and the second hire, and the third hire, and the people that you need to have in your group. Okay, because key, you're not going to do this by yourself. You can probably get $200,000 a month or a year all by yourself, no problem, no problem. But you won't go past that without building a team. And you got to bring the right people in your team at the right time, or you're going to drown if you don't get the right people at the right time. All right. Remember, everything's about creating a specific structure. Now, in the book, if you get the VIP, you're going to get a copy of the book. Okay. The 5 levels of entrepreneurial growth. Why? Because entrepreneurship is a journey. Okay? Entrepreneurship is a journey. And we have to go through the different steps and the different levels to get to where we want to go to. But we got to do it in the right order. All right. So perfect. So we got that. So day number 1, they want to, we're talking about that. So what we're going to do is this. Now that we have clear in level 1 or 2, okay, we're going to do a breakout rooms. Okay, and then while you guys are in the breakout room, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the workbook so I can send it to you guys here right away. Okay, so now the breakout rooms is going to be about 5 people per breakout. Let me get this breakout rooms. All right, it's going to be 4 to 5 people per breakout room. What I want you to talk in the breakout, we're going to give you 5 minutes in the breakout room. Okay, and what we're going to do is we are going to, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to speak with the other people that are in the breakout room. I want you to introduce yourself. We're going to start with the person that has the letter in the alphabet from A to Z. Okay, whoever has A goes first, and then the next letter, in the alphabet until we got the last person. It's about four people per room, 5 minutes, so it's about a minute and a half per person. Okay, and what we're going to do is this: turn your cameras on. Be courteous to all the fellow attendees. Make sure you turn your cameras on. Make sure you can communicate. Your mics are going to be unmuted, so you can unmute yourself, and that way you can talk to them. This is what I want you to do. I want you to discuss about if you think you're in level 1 or if you're thinking you're in level 2. Okay, maybe you're at a different level that I haven't talked about yet. But for right now, let's focus. If you're under $150,000 in your program right now, you're in level 2. If you're above 150,000, maybe you're at a different level. But right now, let me know if you think that do you have SOPs? Okay, do you have SOPs? And are you delegating any tasks to anybody right now? All right. So let's do that. And then I'm going to find the workbook so I'll make sure I can send it to you guys. So 5 minutes. Let's go to the breakouts. Remember, let's talk if you're going to get level 1, level 2. And then if you do you have any SOPs? And are you delegating anything right now to anybody? All right. So here we go. Click the blue button and join the groups. Oh, no, 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 no. Okay, all right, open all the rooms. Everybody, click, go to your rooms. Go ahead and click the blue button.